Okay. So welcome to Not Your Daughter's Yoga for Tuesday, October 12th, the day after Thanksgiving. Hoping everyone had a great Thanksgiving and had lots to be thankful for. I know I definitely did. So you can go ahead and make your way onto your mat. And we're going to start out by lying flat on our back. So you might choose to stretch out and take up as much room as you like, or you may prefer to keep your feet planted, get them a little wider than hip width apart, knees bent. Allow the knees to relax in towards each other so that they support each other. And then you can really just let go because you're not holding anything up. Whichever position you choose, just slightly lift your hips off the mat and then settle them back down, making sure that you have lots of room for your lower spine. And everything's feeling soft and good. And once you're on your mat, I want you to close your eyes. And before we even start with breathing, I want you to just tell yourself, this is my time and this is my space. I need time and space to take care of myself, and everything else can wait. So the grocery list, the to-do list, the what's up next, it can all wait. And now you can take a nice big inhale, picturing your lungs like two giant oxygen tanks, just inhaling deeply, filling those tanks all the way up to the top, holding for a moment, and then sigh it out nice and loud. Let go. Let go of the energy you're carrying, let go of the busyness. It can all just be held off till a later time. Again, inhale, huge big breath, holding for a moment at the top, and then let it go. One more time. Inhale, holding, extra big sigh, letting everything out. And feeling your body become soft, feeling the weight of gravity, really the force of gravity, just gently pulling you down into the ground. And you're completely passive. There's no resistance. There's no effort. You're just allowing yourself to melt down into your mat. We'll do a little check-in with body scans. You can start with the toes and just notice how they're feeling. As we go through the scan, I want you to notice how things are, but not past judgment. And you can point and flex the feet a couple of times. Checking in there. Take some circles with your ankles. The right ankle first. Circling one way, the other. The other ankle, circle the left one. And reverse that motion. Traveling up over the shins. Just engage your calf muscles for a second. Flex them. Release. If your knees are bent, you might just want to straighten your legs out. And plant that foot again. Straighten the other leg out. Plant the foot again. Checking in with the thighs. Again, flex those quad muscles just for a second. Just tighten them up and let them go. And your hips. Just gently wiggle your hips a little bit on the mat. Making sure they're nice and comfortable and soft. Check in with your belly. Sometimes we hold stress and tension in your belly. So if that's the case, try and sigh it out a little bit more. Let that belly become soft and yielding. Notice the easy, thoughtless movement of your lungs. You can push your shoulders down away from your ears. Arms are relaxed. You can bend the elbows if you like. And then release the arms again. Ball the hands up into fists. Hold them really tight and release. And again, ball the hands up into fists and release. And you wiggle that energy out through the fingers. Let it go. Checking in with the throat and neck. You clear your throat, swallow, relax it entirely. Make sure that the biting surfaces of your teeth aren't rooted together, that those surfaces are separated. Your jaw is soft. You can gently nod your head side to side. Finding easy movement in the neck. Your face is nice and passive, no engagement in the muscles. And your head feels nice and heavy against the ground. No support needed, just feeling the pressure of gravity gently hugging us down. Once you've checked in with your body, you can start to cultivate your practice. So nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold for a moment at the top. Exhale. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold for a moment. And then inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Find the rhythm that works for your breath so that it's nice and even, smooth. The inhales and the exhales. Try and match them. Make sure that the breath is really deep. That's all I want you to focus on right now is just generating that smooth rhythm of breath, because that's the support that carries us through our practice. And now that you've manufactured your breath, you can begin to invite in some gentle movement. So maybe you'd like to wiggle fingers and toes again. Perhaps you'd like to invite a nice big stretch. Get long. And then you can gently roll over onto your side. Just pause there for a moment. Let yourself get your bearings. And then gently bring yourself up to a seated position. And it's your choice. You could be sitting with your legs gently outstretched, or you could be sitting cross-legged. Either one works. Just make sure you might want to scoop the flesh out from under your sits bones, which are right at the top of your thigh. Make sure those sits bones are really grounded into the floor, so you've got some good contact there. On an inhale, raise your head, looking up and just noticing your natural range of movement. Exhale, bring that head through center and bring the chin down to the chest. Inhale, coming through center, gazing up. Exhale, bring the head down. One more time. Inhale, coming up through center. Exhale, bring the chin down to the chest. And then whichever direction you prefer, take slow circles with the head and neck. You can pause anywhere where you feel like, oh, this is a bit sticky. I can use a little extra attention there. When you're feeling ready, reverse. Take your circles in the other direction. You might find new places that you need to spend a little extra time on here. And you can bring your head back up to center. We're gonna bring our arms out into a T. I'll mirror you for this one. So bring your left arm under your right and then continue to wrap your arms to come into eagle arms, or wrap once and bring the hands to the shoulders. Either one works. You're going to push your elbows up as you duck your head forward and down. Really round your upper spine and push into the space between your shoulder blades. And then I want you to see if you can direct your breath right into that place. If you're not feeling the stretch, maybe push the elbows up a little bit higher, duck the head a little further down. And we can release, open the arms. This time we'll go the other way. So right arm comes under left. You can continue wrapping for eagle arms or bring hands to shoulders. Push the elbows up, duck the head forward and down. Really round the upper spine. And you can release, arms open wide. Just take some circles with the arms gently working into the shoulders. Don't be too alarmed if you feel a little snap, crackle, pop here. Release. And going the other way again, nice and slow. Good. And then you can bring your left hand down to the ground. Walk it out to the side. Stretch the right arm up and over, coming into side stretch. Making sure that the right side of your body is getting really nice and long. Breathing into that space in your rib cage. Let the head and neck relax. And gently coming back upright. This time we'll bring the right hand down, walk it out to the side, left arm up and over. Again, think about getting really broad in your rib cage, breathing in this space, and make sure that your left bone is staying connected to the mat. So if your hips rolling up, come out of your lean a little bit and make sure that that bone stays planted on the mat. One more big breath. And coming upright, you can extend your legs straight in front of you. We will bend the left leg, leave a bit of fist width between your foot and the leg. Make sure that your right toes are pointing straight upwards. So if your toes are kind of hanging out to the side, rotate your femur upward. Bring the right hand to the outside of the left knee, left hand straight behind. Inhale to get tall. Exhale, twist to the left. You can release the head and neck. Make sure that they're nice and loose. And try and imagine that this twist is coming right from the base of your spine. If you found your way into the twist, you want to see if you could twist a little more deeply. Bring the outside of the right elbow to the outside of the knee. Other than that support against the knee, the rest of your body is very soft and passive. One last breath. And you can unwind. I'm going to undo that a little bit. So bring both hands over onto the right side and just bow forward for a second. And then come back upright, and we will switch the legs. So this time, I'm going to plant the right foot. Again, make sure you've got a little bit of space between those legs. The left leg is rolled up, so the toes are straight up. You can bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand behind. Think about getting tall and twisting to the right. Again, check in with the head and neck. Make sure you're not leading with those. If you wanted to explore going a little further, you could bring the outside of the left elbow, outside of the knee, just an option. Nice slow breaths, just melt into it. One last. And you can release. We'll take our hands to the left side and just bow forward for a second and then come right back upright. We'll straighten both legs out in front of us and then bring the feet together, standing up, not standing up, sorry, sitting up. So sitting right from the sit bones, which are in good contact with the mat, standing up nice and tall for staff pose. Draw your toes actively back toward you. We'll walk our hands down beside our legs to come into a beginning forward fold here. So I just want you to come forward until you start feeling engagement in your hamstrings. And you could feel that in your back, your hips, thighs, shins, just noticing that engagement, taking a break there, just breathing into it so you can release the head and neck. Keep those toes actively peeling back towards you. And you can bring yourself back upright. You can keep your hands out to the sides. We're going to rock back onto the tailbone. And I want you to pick your shins up and bring them parallel to the ground, coming into boat pose. So if you prefer to keep your hands down for balance, that's just fine. I just want you to feel core engagement as you bring your legs up and hold your legs parallel. If you want to work with your balance, you can straighten your arms out in front of you. So nice broad chest. Imagine your chest is drawing forward and up. Big breath here. One more breath. And you can release the legs down. We'll bring them around the side and we'll all meet up on hands and knees, coming into a neutral tabletop position. So knees will be below hips. Ditch my glasses too. And your wrists are below your shoulders unless you're having wrist issues. Then you could set your hands a little further forward to relieve pressure on it. So we're going to begin with our cat and cow. So for cow, let your belly dip down. Head comes forward, maybe looks up, and you're lifting the hips at the same time. Inhale here. Exhale, rolling through the cat, pushing up between the shoulder blades, dropping the hips and head, hanging out for a second, and then inhale, coming back through to cow. Exhale, come to cat, moving ever so slowly. Inhale, coming back through to cow. Exhale to cat. Take 3 more rounds of cat and cow with your own breath. You may wish to add in some lateral movement. Freestyle it. Roll the hips, whatever feels good to you. And when you finish your third round, we'll all meet back up in a neutral spine position in our tabletop. I'm going to do a little bit of balancing work here. So if you prefer, you could simply move your weight over onto your left knee and hug the right knee in. And then we're going to move it back. If you want to test your balance as well, you could lift the left hand. Okay, we'll start with them both hugged in. Exhale, extend out. So the arm is just an option, not required. Inhale, squeeze the knee in. Exhale, release it long. Inhale, squeeze in. Exhale, release long. One more time. Inhale, squeeze in. Exhale, release long. Hold for a moment. If your arm is up, bring it down. We're going to bend the right knee and bring that right knee out to the side. And you're going to lift the right leg on an angle to the side, like you're a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. I know, it's not elegant. And then we're just going to take circles with that leg. So just getting into that hip joint a little bit. And also because you're lifting, it helps work the psoas a little bit. So just nice big circles. And then we'll go the other way. So whichever direction you were doing, go in the opposite direction. Keep that breath nice and big. And then you can bring that right knee down to the mat and we'll set up the other side. So squeeze the left knee in. Maybe you extend the right hand out. Inhale, squeeze in. Exhale, get long. Inhale, squeeze in. Exhale, long. Inhale in. Exhale, long. One last one. Inhale in. And exhale it long. Hold for a moment. You can bring your hand down if it was out. Bring the leg out to the side with your knee bent. So again, that very graceful fire hydrant position. And then take circles. Nice and slow. And you can reverse the motion. Good. And bring that knee down. We're going to set up for a downward facing dog. You can curl your toes under, walk your hands forward, open your heart toward the ground. So this is the modification for downward facing dog. Let the head really relax here. It can just hang down. If you'd like to come onto your feet, you can do that. Otherwise, just keep opening your heart toward the ground. If you're on your feet, pedal your feet, straightening one leg at a time. In both cases, the chest is really broad and the hands are really strong. Pressing down at the base of each finger. And we'll slowly make our way onto our feet at the top of the mat in a way that makes sense for you. Rolling all the way up. Standing nice and tall on the mat. So feet are narrow hip width apart. You're standing nice and tall. Chest is broad. Right. Inhale the arms up overhead. You may choose to gaze forward and maybe up. Exhale, bend in the knees, swan dive forward, coming all the way forward, coming into our forward fold. And you can cradle one arm in the other and just hang out in ragdoll for a second. So gently swaying in the breeze. Let the head and neck be soft. If you're feeling this in the back of the thighs, the hamstrings, just try and breathe into that sensation. And then we'll bring our hands onto our shins. I want you to inhale, come up halfway to your table back. Exhale, forward fold. Again, inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. And again, inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to plant our hands on the mat and then step both feet to the back of the mat, lower onto the knees and untuck the toes. So you're making a nice long line from your shoulders all the way back to your knees. Arms are strong. We're going to inhale to prepare. Exhale, squeeze your elbows in, gently lower down. So thighs come down, hips come down, belly, chest. And then finally, your forehead comes down onto the mat. Your hands can remain under your shoulders. We'll inhale the head up for cobra. Exhale it down. Again, inhale that head up for cobra. Feel the lift coming right from the lower back. Exhale down. One more time, lift for cobra. No weight in the hands. You can even levitate the hands up. And exhale. Head comes down. We're going to go for full locust this time. So you bring your hands back by your hips. So the backs of your hands are on the mat. Palms are up. Zip your legs together. So bring your toes together. Inhale. Head and neck come up just like in cobra. Exhale. Bring the arms and legs up like you're Superman flying through the air. Feel the lift coming right from the lower back. Hold it. Big breath. One more big breath. And release everything down. Your hands can come underneath your forehead. Bend your legs at the knees. And then just gently windshield wiper your legs back and forth. Just releasing that extension in the back. And we'll release the legs long. We're going to come up onto our forearms here and come into Sphinx for a few breaths. So depending on how much you like back extensions, you might be happy here. You might want to come out of it a little bit, in which case just lower your chest down. If you're really digging it and you want to go further, you can press into the palms and come up. Totally up to you. After your next exhale, I want you to bring your right arm diagonally in front of you. We're going to roll onto the right hip. So you're going to come into a side plank. At that point, you can bring your right arm fully parallel with the top edge of your mat. Your hips are going to be in a line. So you've got a long line from your shoulder all the way back to your right hip, and your abdomen is completely straight. Your legs can be bent with your feet behind you just to give a little extra support. Bring your left hand onto your hip, and then I want you to push your hips skyward and release them down. If you're finding that a little bit difficult, try bringing the arm in a little bit. Make sure that the elbow is directly below the shoulder. So inhale, push the hips skyward. Exhale them down. Inhale, push those hips up. Exhale down. 2 more. Inhale, push the hips up. Exhale down. Last one. Inhale up. And exhale down. We will come back onto the belly and switch to the other side. So bringing the left arm parallel with the top edge of the mat, making sure that the elbow is directly below the shoulder, straightening the torso, making sure we have a nice straight line from the shoulders all the way down to the knees. The knees are bent, feet are behind us. Again, make sure that shoulder is right underneath you, so your elbows right underneath you. So inhale, push those hips up. Exhale, relax them down. Inhale up. Exhale, relax down. 2 more. Inhale up. Relax down. 1 more time. Inhale up. And exhale, relax down. We will roll back onto the belly. Bring your hands back onto your shoulders. You're going to push up onto your hands and knees, your choice. Coming back to kneeling downward facing dog or the standing version, whichever works better for you. In both cases, opening the heart toward the ground, strong hands, the base of each finger pressing down into the mat. One more big breath. And then slowly make your way onto your feet at the top of the mat. And roll up to stand. So again, we'll have our feet narrow hip width apart, standing up nice and straight, shoulders are broad, hands can relax down by your hips. And then I want you to just bring your toes together. You might shuffle your feet in just a little bit. So your toes are together, but there's space between your heels, so you're a little bit pigeon-toed. So inhale, arms up overhead. You can gaze up if you like. Exhale, part the hands. You just sit down in an imaginary chair. Make sure that you're scooping your tailbone under. If that bothers your shoulders, you can bring your hands onto your shoulders. Sit down as far as you can. Feeling those thighs heating up a little bit. Big breath here. One more big breath. And release. Forward fold. Hanging out here for a second. You can sway if you like. And then slowly, slowly rolling up to stand. So standing tall at the top of the mat again. Bring the hands to the hips. You can bring your feet back, narrow hip width apart. Then I want you to step your right foot to the back of the mat. So big step, work it back if you have to. So your right foot, the edge of your right foot is going to be parallel with the back edge of your mat. Your left heel is going to be in alignment with your right arch. And that left ankle is ahead of the left knee. So left arm comes straight forward, right arm straight back, lunge forward, coming into warrior two. If you have to adjust your feet, that's totally fine. So coming into this big, strong warrior two, we can add in our arms. So inhale forward, exhale, draw back. If you wish to follow with your eyes, you can, but just a choice. Inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. One more time. Exhale back. If your head is back, bring it forward again. You need to turn your left palm up. Scoop the air up and back. Coming into revolved warrior. You can slide your right hand down your right leg. Make sure that you're not rising up in your legs. So keep that lunge moving forward and down. One more breath here. Coming back to warrior two. We're going to bring the left arm onto the left thigh. and arch the right arm up and over. Make sure that your palm is forward. If your palm is rotated out like this, rotate it down. So coming into side angle, big breath here. I'm gonna get a lot of heat here. One more breath. And then we're gonna come back up to warrior two for one breath. Straighten that front leg. That feels good. Lean as far forward as you can. So reaching with the left hand and then rotate that left hand down. Come to thigh, shin, ankle, whatever works for you. Right arm goes straight up overhead. Palm is open. If you find that your palm is like this to the back, rotate your shoulder open. You could look at the ground here to the side, or if you want to challenge your balance, gaze up toward your hand. Keep the breathing big and fluid. One more breath. If your head is anywhere else, turn your head down toward the ground. Big bend in the left leg. Bring both hands down to the mat. Bring your right knee down and then draw your left leg back. So bring your toes together. Bring your knees as wide as your mat. Hips come back on the heels and forehead comes down, just coming into a child's pose. That was a lot of big fiery leg work. So if you'd like to sigh it out, you can do that. Inhale, open your mouth. Exhale, let it go. Just taking a few smoothing, slowing breaths here. And when you're feeling ready, coming back up to downward facing dog. So either version on your knees, opening that heart toward the ground, or up on the feet. Take a couple breaths here in downward facing dog. And then make your way back up onto your feet. And we'll meet back up at the top of the mat again. So again, standing with feet narrow hip width apart, nice and tall, hands are on the hips. We'll take a giant step back with the left foot this time. So the left foot is parallel with the back edge of your mat. Right foot pointing straight forward. Make sure that the right heel is in alignment with the left arch. Make sure that the right ankle is ahead of your right knee. So right arm straight forward, left arm straight back, lunge into the front leg, coming into warrior two. We'll bring the archer arms in if you like. So inhale forward, exhale, draw back. Inhale forward, exhale, draw back. Make sure you're staying lunging low. Inhale forward, exhale, draw back. One more time. Inhale it forward. Exhale, draw it back. If your head is anywhere else, bring it forward. Stay for a breath. Turn the right palm up. Use the air up and back for revolved warrior. The left hand can just slide down the left leg. Nice and tall. Make sure you're still lunging low into the front leg though. And we'll bring the back to level. Oh, my battery and my headphones is low. So if you, let me know if you can't hear me. Bring the right arm down to your thigh. Left arm arches up and over. Again, keep that palm open. Big breath here. Coming back upright to warrior two for one breath. Straighten that front leg. Oh, does not feel good. Reach as far forward with the right hand as you can. Bring it down to your leg in a place that works for you. And to the left arm, straight up. And then your choice. You could gaze down to the side or up toward your thumb. Gently bend that right leg. Bring your hands down to the mat. Bring the left knee down. Untuck the toes. Draw that right back. That right leg back. This time we'll bring the knees together and the toes together. And again, coming back for happy child pose here. This time you might feel a little more of an extension through the lower back. You could bring your hands back by your heels if you like. And again, you could sigh out a little bit of that heat. One more big sigh. Letting it all go. Bring your hands back up if they were back by your heels. Coming back up onto hands and knees. You could resume your kneeling downward facing dog, really stretching that chest open toward the ground, or you could be up on your heels, on your toes. Staying for a breath. And then we'll make our way back up to standing on the mat in a way that makes sense for us. Coming all the way back up. All right. We are going to turn sideways on the mat. So we'll start with feet narrow hip width apart. Bring the hands onto the hips. If you want to block for this, go ahead and do a block now. We're going to come into a wide leg forward fold, and then later we'll do squat. So if you want to block ready, go ahead and grab it. Standing up nice and tall. Make sure the shoulders are broad, down away from the ears. And walk your feet out. Walking them out, finding a wide-legged stance that works for you. So something where you feel stable, but also a little bit of challenge. Press the outsides of your feet down into the mat. You've got that nice grippy base. So hands to hips. Inhale, think about getting tall. Exhale, I want you to hinge right at the hips, coming forward. Leave a little micro bend in the knees. If your block is there, you can bring your hands down to the block, coming into a nice, relaxing forward fold. Once you're down, let your head and neck really relax here. On your next inhale, come halfway up, making a flat back. Stay for a breath. And then exhale it back down. Maybe you can come a little bit further in. If you like forward fold, you wanted to explore going further, you could take a hold of your ankles and then draw your chest toward your ankles, so down underneath you. But just an option. You can also just hang out. One more deep breath. And we're going to roll all the way up to stand. And we're going to heel toe the feet in, bringing them in, bringing them in. We'll get ready to do our tree. So if you know that you'd like to have some support from furniture or a wall, you can go and move yourself there now. At the same time, if you'd like a little hydration break, go ahead and do that. All right, so we'll set up for three. Standing, feet narrow, hip width apart. Your abdomen's engaged, shoulders are broad. Bring your hands to your hips. Remembering that before you even think about going anywhere, I want you to fix your gaze on a non-moving point 2 or 3 meters ahead of you. Just fix your gaze there. Good. Zoning out. And then slowly begin to move your weight over onto the left foot. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale the knee out to the side. And plant the free foot. So it could be on the shin, ankle, or toes down. Your toes. Squeeze your bum in. Abdomen is strong. Hands can come to heart center. And then you could explore growing your teeth. Not worrying about shaking or swaying because that's what trees do. Keeping that breath moving nice and smooth. Gently bring your hands back to your heart center if they were up. And down to the hips. And then we're going to breathe that free leg forward. Straighten it out. And then exhale it down with control. Excellent. You can shake out the standing leg. Get that circulation going. We'll set up for the other side. Again, so inhale nice and tall. Transfer your weight over the right foot. I want you to make sure your gaze is fixed though before you go anywhere. Inhale the free leg up. Exhale it to the side. Plant that foot. In ankle, toes down. Whatever works for you. Make sure you're squeezing the bum. Core is engaged. Everything is squeezing up and in. You can come to heart center. You can explore growing your tree on this side. Again, swaying, it just happens. Sometimes we fall out, but then we just get back in again. And can come back to center if they were up. Bring them back to hips. Inhale the free leg forward. Exhale it straight. And then slowly release it onto the ground. Wonderful. Take a standing leg. And then we'll get ready to come down into squat. So if you know that you prefer to start from seated, you can do that. If you've got a block ready, position it so that it's between your legs and slightly toward the back. Bring your feet out a little wider than hip width apart. Not too wide though, just a little wider. Toes are out on a 45-degree angle and standing nice and tall. If you're sitting, same principles apply. Your legs are wider than your hips, toes are out on 45, and your core is really upright and engaged. So inhale, there. Exhale, gently lowering toward the ground. If you're already down, you could encourage a hip opening with your hands or with the backs of your arms. If you're coming from standing, when you come down, you could shuffle around just a little bit, getting into those hips, and then find your way to a place where you can just sit. The hips are being encouraged open, feeling sensation, but it's sensation that we welcome and that we just sit with. Make sure that you're still sitting tall. Try not to slump forward. Chest is broad, head is up. And just breathing into that sensation. Take 3 more breaths. Nice and slow. When you've completed your breath, you can bring your hands down. If you're on a block, Move that off to the side, and we'll meet up. Thumbs on the ground. The feet are going to come in front of you, but you're still going to keep your knees a little bit wider than your hips. You can cradle your arms one and the other, or you could just keep the fingertips down to the side and just windshield wiper those legs back and forth and roll up onto the outside of the hip. Slowly coming through center, rolling up on the hip, coming back and forth a few times. And we'll massage here. And then coming back to center, we will straighten our legs out in front of us and bring them together, just like we did earlier in practice. So you're sitting up nice and tall. Your hands rest on your lap. Before you go forward, think about going up. If you want to add in your arms, you can. I like to reach up and then hinge at the hips, coming forward and to my forward fold. You might find you can bend a little more deeply this time because we did do a lot of work with the legs and thighs. So that often lets you come a little bit deeper into a forward fold. But just find a place where you can just hang out here. And relax the head and neck. And then coming back upright and plant your feet. Allow your knees to open out to the side. You've got a nice big diamond shape. So your heels aren't necessarily in by your body. They're quite a ways away from your body. So big diamond shape. Again, draw yourself up to sit nice and tall. And then exhale, come forward into a forward fold. It might be a very slight fold or it might go quite deep. If you're finding that you're having a little resistance here, you could bring your knees up and down a few times. A little bit of butterfly here. Allow yourself to just find a place where you can sit with sensation. And we'll come back upright. If you're sideways on your mat, bring yourself lengthwise on your mat again. And we're going to be using these blocks. So grab your blocks and just have them off to either side of your mat. We're going to be using them for a couple of things. So we'll plant the feet. We're going to take another round of both. So your hands could be at your side or release from the knees. Bring the shins up, holding for just a couple of breaths here. One more big breath. You can bring the feet down and then continue all the way back onto your back. So head is on the mat. Your feet, I want them planted just below your hips on the mat. Knees are straight up. Your hands can be palms down by your hips, head looking straight up, getting ready for the first round of bridge. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, push those hips up. Pushing those hips really actively toward the ceiling. Pressing the backs of your arms and your feet down. The higher you push down, the higher your hips can go. I should say the harder you push down, the higher your hips can go. Big breath. One more breath. And release. And windshield wiper the knees back and forth. So this time, yogi's choice. You can take the active version, or if you want to just chill, you can grab your block ready for the restorative version. So Inhale there. Exhale, push the hips skyward. If you're doing this freestyle, you could roll your shoulders underneath. If you're getting ready for the block, place the block so that it's just above your bum, between your bum and the middle of your back. Try setting your hips down on it, making sure that's comfortable. And then once you're feeling right, you can just relax totally onto that block. The edge of the block should not be digging into your back. If that's the case, move it down a little bit. So if you're actively bridging, keep it up there for a couple more breaths. If you're in a restorative version of bridge, you could try extending your legs out. Some people really, really enjoy this big back extension. Others, not so much. It just depends on the day and how you're feeling. If you're an active bridge, you can come down and just windshield wiper the knees. Relax for a few breaths. And if you're in restorative and your legs are extended, bring your feet back underneath. Hang out for one more breath. On your next inhale, push your hips skyward. Exhale, bring them down, and then just gently windshield wiper the knees. And you can hug your knees into your chest just for a moment. And then we're going to bring our feet back down. We'll set up for pigeon. So the left foot is going to be planted just below the left hip. You're going to cross the right leg at the ankle. Make sure that the right knee comes out to the side so it looks like you're making the number 4 with your legs. Those right toes are really actively peeling back toward the right knee. If you're already starting to feel a big extension here, you can just stay exactly as is. Your hand could come to the inside of the knee and encourage it outward. If you would like to explore going a little deeper, you could hug your left thigh in. Just actively keeping those right toes peeling back toward the right knee. The left lower leg can just hang out. Imagine that you have lungs in your hip, in that right hip, and you can send the breath right into that right hip. One more deep breath. And you can release that leg. Plant the right foot down, and then we'll cross the left leg at the ankle. Left knee comes out to the side. Left toes are really peeling back toward the left knee. Again, you could be happy right here. Maybe applying a bit of encouragement with your left hand. You can stay right there. If you'd like to go further, hug your right thigh in, take a hold behind the back of the thigh, interlacing the fingers. The right lower leg can just hang out. Just make sure that those left toes stay really actively peeled back. And then no matter which version you chose, just breathe into it, imagining that there's lungs right in the left hip, sending your breath right there. One last deep. And you can release the free leg down, uncross the leg. We're going to get ready to come into it's called a reclining bound angle. I want you to have your blocks, set them just to the outside of your hips, so one on each side, and then your head is on the mat. Bring your feet together, so heel toe them in so they're together. So your block is probably going to be a couple of inches away from your hip, but we can adjust. And what you're going to do is, while keeping your feet together, allow your knees to relax out to the side. Now, if you don't have a lot of room to extend, bring the blocks in close to your hip. If you feel like you could really extend here, then you can move your blocks further away. You might have to just do a little trial and error here and find a place where your legs are really fully supported by the block. And then you can just relax into it. So you can bring the right hand on your belly, your left hand over your heart. And hopefully those blocks are really supporting the full weight of your legs so that you can just really let go here.
I'm pretty sure I just lost my audio. Can people still hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure my AirPods just died. So just passively letting gravity do the work here. Keep the breath nice and smooth. Two last slow breaths. And then I want you to use your hands, gently scoop your knees up. And we're going to continue using the blocks, but you can just set the right one off to the side. So we're going to cross the right leg over the left leg with no gap between the thigh. And ever so slightly, set your hips over to the right. So your left block is still over on the left and ready for your left thigh to come down onto. But before you go anywhere, arms come out into a T, and you can gently lower your legs over to the left. Feeling your legs come down onto the block. If you need that block a little closer to you, adjust it. But just find a place where the full weight of your legs can really come onto the block and you don't have to hold anything. So you're just completely relaxed. Make sure that both shoulder blades stay firmly plugged into the mat, and then just become soft. If you wanted to explore looking over your right shoulder, you could try that. See how it's feeling today, but just an option. And if your head is anywhere else, gently bring it back up to center. It's somewhere on the brain. Bring it back up to center. Bring your knees upright. Uncross the legs. Get your right block ready so that your legs can come onto that. Straighten the hips. And again, arms out into a T. Cross the left leg over the right with no gap between the thigh. And then ever so slightly, set your hips over to the left, about an inch. And then lower the legs over to the right. putting the block where you need it so that you're coming into a nice deep twist, but you have full support from the block. So further in this block is toward your hips, the earlier you're going to get that support. So coming into your twist, making sure that that left shoulder is really staying plugged into the mat. And then you can, again, just relax into it. Full weight of your legs should be supported on the block. And if you want to explore looking over the left shoulder, you can. Or just leave your head upright. Either is perfectly fine. And bring your head back to center if it was anywhere else. Gently bring the legs back upright and set your block off to the side. Uncross the legs, straighten your hips, and then again, hug the knees in toward you. And draw the right knee toward the right armpit, left knee toward the left armpit. If you're happy here, you could stay here. Roll around on the lower back a little bit. If you want to go a little deeper, you could reach your arms to the insides of your knees. So inside through, take a hold of either the inside or the outside of the feet and draw the feet toward the ceiling for stirrup or happy baby. And again, this is a really great place to just all around, massage it out a little bit. And if there's any other movements you'd like to take at this time, I totally invite you to go ahead and do that. So maybe you just want to extend the legs. Maybe you'd like to go into a shoulder stand if you know how to safely do that. Or maybe you just want to stretch. Totally up to you. Take whatever your body is asking for today. And when you're feeling ready, you can start preparing for your Shavasana. If you know that you would like a little bit of extra support, you can grab your rolled blanket or a large throw pillow and put that under the knees. You can grab a sweater. You can grab yourself something to drink. Just get all of that creature comfort stuff out of the way so that when you make your way down into your Shavasana, you can really focus on relaxing, because that is actually the hardest part. So once you're comfortable, finding your way onto your back, again, you could lift your hips just slightly, settle them back down on the mat, making sure that they feel comfortable. You've got room for your lower back. Your arms could be by your sides, or if you'd like to retain a little bit of heat and energy from that clasp, you bring your left hand over your heart and your right hand on your belly. Once you're on your back, you can take 3 really nice big breaths. So inhale it. Lungs filling all the way up. Hold for a moment at the top. Exhale it, let it go. Again, inhale it in. Hold for a moment. Exhale. Sigh it out. Nobody can hear you anyway. Last one. Inhale. Hold it for just a moment and then exhale and let the whole practice go. Letting the energy go, the effort, the intention, all of it. And just allowing yourself to fall into a deep state of relaxation. you can enjoy and absorb the benefits of your practice. I hope you enjoy a peaceful rest. If you find your mind wandering, just gently bring it back to your breath. And I'll be here to let you know when it's time to go. And you start to bring your awareness back to your body. Take a few nice, slow breaths. You could wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe take a big stretch. And gently roll over onto your right side, pausing there for a moment before you bring yourself up to a seated position. Once you bring yourself up to sit, make sure that you're sitting comfortably, nice and tall. You can bring your hands to heart center. Take an inhale and lower your chin to your chest. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. And Frank. Thank you for joining me for practice today. Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.